We're gonna follow the trail. It's coming from somewhere. And there it is. My brand new Holley Coyote swap pan is leaking oil from a weld. I'm back at it. Not by choice. As you can see, car's up in the air. There's a nice box right here. It happens to be another Holley Coyote swap oil pan. And as you saw at the beginning of this, the reason why I have a new one is that one is leaking, but not from the gasket, but from a weld seam that was done during the manufacturing process. So knowing that that's going to go back for credit because it's still under warranty, I was in the area of Summit Racing, purchased a new pan, it came back with me. That's what I'm going to do today. So now it's up in the air. I'll take the front suspension apart again, drop the K-member, drop the oil pan. I'm going to do some mods to the pan. I'm actually going to double check with a buddy of mine that's a good TIG welder. We're going to make sure that all the welds are good. And I'm also going to change the drain plug probably to a regular style instead of using an NPT pipe plug, which they provide, and then put it back together. So stay with me on this one. This is the Holley oil pan. This is the new one. Picked it up at Summit Racing. Instructions, which I don't need because I did this already. But just to kind of go over, I'm not going to use the pickup that's in this bag because I'm not going to be removing mine. And I've already looked at this, but just so that everybody kind of has an idea. The weld I had in question that was on the video is actually this weld right here that was leaking, and then it's coming down and then just rolls around the back. So that one is in this area right here. So we're going to really be checking all of the welds and inspecting this pan to make sure that it looks good and I'm not going to have an issue. And then my goal also is to take and remove the pipe plug and put a regular drain plug in here with either a copper or rubber washer gasket and make it a lot nicer. I'm not a fan of the pipe plugs. So this will come out to about an 18mm thread. In any case, I'm modifying this pan and double checking before it goes back on. I'm going to drop this and drop that. That all goes in my bucket. You can really see the oil here. Actually, I had this wrapped. I don't like it because there was oil around it, but I'm not a fan of them, so it's not going to go back. All right, while that's draining, another item that I want to address is I'm starting to get another blister right here on these are new mounts. So I know it's heat from this header tube right here. So I am going to fabricate a shield. I may secure it underneath the motor mount bolt, or excuse me, the motor mount nut, mounting nut. Drill a hole to fit the motor mount peg here. There we go. See how lucky I am. There we go. All right. so that's out of the way. So, little trick. Thank God for never sees. Another little modification that I'm going to do is to keep the clutch cable, which comes down along here and actually rubs on the pan right in this area right here and leaves a little mark, and I don't want to heat the shroud and because the oil does get hot, is I am going to make a mark, have a little clamp bracket right here, and then this will come over and I'll bolt that. I'll drill a hole in the K-member and mount the cable there to keep it away from the oil pan. As I go along here, as I have some reference marks, I have a black mark on the aluminum portion, silver mark on the captive part, washer, same here in the top, and the same on the driver's side. So this is the left side, this is the right side, and this is just so I can get the rack close to where it was as it is now when I go back together. Took the measurement, so I know I have 5/8 of thread showing from the end of the bolt, nut down to the end of the bolt on both sides. I worked on a little template here to make a heat shield. So I have to make this out of metal, but I got it clear in the exhaust here, so it shouldn't rub. And that'll fit flat, so the edge of that is barely right there. I have my engine bar in right here, couple of straps, one each side around the exhaust manifold, one of the header tubes, so it's up. I got it off about maybe a little over 1/8 of an inch. Clearance on that motor mount there off the K-member, and on this side I've got clearance off the K-member there. So now it's going to be disassembling the suspension on both sides, take the rack off, mark my K-member again with some reference points, and pull the K-member out of the way, and then take the oil pan off. Ta-da. I'll make sure that I seal up on the underside up in here in the corners, up here in the corners, and then just get it all sealed back up, and I'll check my depth with the new one. I'm not gonna remove the pickup because I don't need to, so that'll stay there. So it's just gonna stay here, and I'll put a little catch blanket for it and put it back together later. Pan is out. This is where the leak was, right there. I click the ballpoint pen right at the tip of the pin, and then it would leak down here, and it left a couple stain marks this way, and then just drained around the bottom of the pan. And I checked my gasket, and of course everything was good, and cleaned everything off, and then I just saw while it was in the car, it was right there. So on the inside of the pan, that is this section right here, and there's a nice little pocket right there. I don't know if I can get in close enough here. Let's see. There's a little dark spot right there, a little pocket, probably a little slag pocket, and that's what I believe, is where the oil would come out and just seep, and it would seep sitting there because this is an 8-quart pan, so oil level is probably up into here somewhere, at least level with that, and it would leak. So that's why it's out, and it's going back, like I said. I've got another one. I'm not going to wait for a couple weeks for them to figure out what to do, so I'll get credit for this. That's what it is. Good. Oh, that's going to be so much nicer. New pan is ready to go in. Got the drain plug fixed yesterday. Checked it all for all the welds with the light. The pinhole that was in there before was right over there. Everything looks good. We double checked everything. Plus we had it sitting in. We had water filled in here for a couple hours and with no leaks. So I've already taken my measurement from the bottom of the pan to the lip here, and we're still basically the same as my old one, which was about 5 15/16. So I know the depth is going to be okay for the pickup tube, which is up there hanging down. Nothing's been touched there. Gasket's cleaned off. I'm going to put a little bit of silicone on in the corners and then run a thin bead with my finger along here and just along the back and stab it. So the next thing is to put the plate in. It's all been cleaned out. So this is going to sit in here. And then I've already put red Loctite on my bolts. I'm going to use some fuel paste sealant, just a little bit around. This is what's used at gas stations, but that way I know that I can clear these threads. And even though it's got an O-ring boss here or an O-ring sitting on here, I'm going to make sure that the threads are sealed up good. I'm going to put my AN O-ring fitting back in the front. Oh, here we go. Right here. And this is brand new, so it's just basically going to go right back in here, and I'll put that in, I think, after I get the pan up in there. So those things are going to be next. So the next thing is pan is going to get set up underneath there, and I'm going to bolt it up, and then I'm going to walk away for the day and let it sit. I lowered the gasket a little bit and put a thin bead along underneath the gasket, along around past the seam. These others are still tight, so I'm going to leave those alone, as well as the back corners here, and then just did a quick light swipe of silicone there and along the front, and also the back side and the front side of the pan. So now this has been sitting for a couple of minutes. I'm ready to get tacky, and I'm ready to set it up in the car. In, got everything tight, the cable's tight. Like I said, I'll leave this sensor out for the time being while I put the motor mounts back in. I just don't want to be banging it. And then I'll hook up my grounds back and let it sit. One of the things earlier I wanted to do was to drill a hole, so I made a ink mark for my clutch cable. I'm going to put a small little, basically a cable bracket on it to keep it away from rubbing the oil pan. So when it sits in, it kind of comes out and rubs against the oil pan in this area. And I don't want to get hot. I can see where there's been a mark. So basically I'm going to drill a hole here, 1/4 inch. I have a bracket around the cable right now, and I'm just going to run a bolt through it, and if I don't like it, I can always take it off, but that's what the next project is. Done. Like that. Now they're both in. Now I'll let the engine down. I'm leaving my straps up there right now for the time being, but these mounts are in. Just making sure everything's good. I have the heat shield that I made on the driver's side done, installed. Motor mount bolt is tight. I have clearance all the way around. It's not hitting the exhaust here, and basically gonna deflect a lot of heat. I think it's gonna help. I'm gonna find out. My heat shield is in. So it basically goes up around the top here and goes underneath this header pipe and clears the motor mount. So hopefully that'll deflect some heat. We'll have to wait and find out. I'll check it in a few months. Okay, earlier when I was disassembling, I made a mark to drill a hole in the K-member here to mount the clutch cable so it wouldn't hit the oil pan up here. So now I have a simple little cable clamp right here bolted to the K-member, and I have clearance here. I got a nice straight shot all the way back to the clutch. I don't have rubbing here, so I don't have to worry about this jacket getting hot. I also made a little bend in the frame bracket right here. Just gave it a little twist this way to kind of straighten it out, and also now it clears my oil filter, clear the brake lines, and I don't have any rubbing issues and chafing, so I'm real happy about that. The steering shaft hasn't moved because it's been in the lock position, so it's going to be really close. I just put the key in just to let me rotate the steering wheel just a little bit one way or the other here, so I can stab this back on the rack. And the rack has like a V cut in it. The bolt goes across the top up here on this side, which I have out. So I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on this, get this position, and then just slide it down in there. Okay, so let's see what happens. So I know that the bolt goes on the top. The bolt hole here is going to go across the top up in here. May not be able to see this really well. Let me see if I can reposition my light. But this is going to go on and just get turned just a little tiny bit here. There we go. So let's see where I am here. There we go. And, and again, I did put some True Blue thread sealant on there just to kind of seal up the threads. Alright. Just do a quick recap on what was done. This oil pan was changed due to a leak on this side up in this area on a weld. And at the same time, I bought a new pan. I changed the drain plug out. This is now an 18mm with a copper washer, which I like better than the pipe plug, so I changed this. Also put a bolt and nut right here with a cable clamp to keep my clutch cable away from the oil pan, because it would always come around and wrap here. So and it's free from everything else, so that'll keep it away from the heat there. Nice straight shot. Put a heat shield to help protect the motor mount from possible blisters. One on this side, driver's side, bent that one up. And then I have one which is more difficult to see, but there's one up here that wraps around the exhaust, or the motor mount actually kind of curves around the top of the motor mount just to deflect the heat from the exhaust that's coming down. So I'm going to see how that works out. Other than that, nothing really much has changed under here. Alright, just fired it up. Don't have any leaks up here. And I have no leaks under here, nothing at the filter, nothing on the pan, nothing inside of the pan here. Drain plug's good. So I think we're good to go. Thanks for sticking with me on this episode, round 2 of the Holley's Coyote oil pan swap. It was not expected, and it wasn't intended to do it twice, but due to the welding flaw in the pan, which was pretty evident when we put a light right through it, it had to be done. So anyway, a lot of boring stuff in there, but a couple things I took care of with the heat shields and moving the clutch cable. So I'm pretty happy on that. So anyway, again, thanks for sticking with me.